What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chaotic Minds. As always, it is Winged.
And a midget.
And we are here. It's been hot. Holy crap, it's been hot.
Good God. And we work overnights, so we sleep during the hottest part of the day, damn it.
And it's still hot.
Yes. It's even hot at night. It's like 60s at night.
Well, comparatively, throughout the rest of the year, 60 ain't too bad.
No.
But when it's hot and unusually humid here in Colorado, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, I've gotten so used to it not being humid, having grown up on the East Coast, and it being humid
this being
all the
dry
time.
state.
Yeah, with it supposedly being, oh yeah, we don't get a lot of humidity.
Yeah, this year we do.
For some reason this year, yeah, it's been miserable.
You know why, right?
And it hasn't even hit the official start to summer. That's in 6 days.
You want to know why, right?
Why?
El Nino
Is dead.
No, it's not.
That's everything that I've seen when it comes to the weather stuff, and I pay attention to that. El Nino is not working or not at real big this
I know,
year.
But the thing is, that's what they're saying. But weather patterns in Colorado, because I've lived here 99% of my life, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it.
Anyways,
it's always in a pattern. Always.
yeah.
And this is year 5. The same year that the cottonwoods are huge and flying around like bullshit missiles trying to kill me is always the big year for El Nino.
Just get better.
Yeah, just get not dying and not having you cuffed and taken out of the room and investigated for beating the shit out of me because I got cottonwood in my eye.
I have never been arrested or cuffed for that.
No, but you've been taken away and questioned. If
I've been pulled off to the side.
Yeah, and it's still bullshit.
And it's understandable. I mean, you come in and you got a swollen black eye, and they see me, and I'm a big guy, and you being small.
At the time.
Small. They're like, is this guy beating her? No. She's allergic to cottonwood.
And they didn't want to believe me. I was like, wash the cottonwood out of my eye, give me some epi, give me some albuterol, and I'll be all right. I hate albuterol, but I'll take it, just to prove a point.
And they did.
And they did, and they washed it out. They got like 3 pieces out of the one eye, and they're like, oh. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better call him in here and fucking apologize to him, too.
I was just like, okay. Like, I think
It's
I think that was the most nonchalant, other than being pulled over for doing something dumb while driving, that I've ever been when it comes to police.
Yeah.
They're just
That's
like
the dumbest excuse
they're
ever.
just like, hey, we wanted to apologize, and the police are like, yeah, we're sorry, and I'm just like, okay.
it's like stick it up your ass, dude. Like, you didn't want to believe me.
You said that.
Yeah, I was like,
You said that. I was just like, okay.
I was not in the mood. I was in pain. They wouldn't give me anything for pain because my eye hurt, of course, because it looked like somebody socked me in my face.
Yeah.
But it's like those stupid fluffy white shit missiles.
Yeah.
God, I can't stand them. But no, anyway, back to the point. Bunny Trail episode. Every time the cottonwoods are blooming like this bad, El Nino. The year they chop them down, so in the winter when they start thinning them back, next winter we'll have more snow.
Okay.
So that's the pattern. Every 5 years, El Nino is really prevalent. And the storms and the weather and the moisture kick up all that fluffy white crap, and now I'm itching psychosomatic issues. Every time.
So stop talking about it.
But anyway, El Nino and La Nina, they do crazy shit every 5 years. Every 5 years, like clockwork.
It's almost like the planet is, a giant cycle.
2001 was one, the year I graduated. Hence the reason it poured on graduation day. And 2006, the year the year
I graduated.
you graduated, there was such a bad blizzard here that it shut down the entire state for 6 days.
Okay.
Unless you were emergency personnel, you could not go nowhere.
Okay.
AKA, you got to stay home and still got paid. Except for us, because we're considered emergency personnel.
And we have to be there.
Yay. Regardless if the hospital is shut down, we still have to be there.
Well, yeah, because there's drugs.
Well, not only
And
that,
equipment.
even if it was abandoned property, the hospital was like just non-existent anymore. They moved all the patients, moved all the docs and nurses. We'd still have to be there until it was decommissioned.
Yeah.
Until all the equipment is out. And even then, they might still keep us until they knock the building down, which that's not going to happen. So we're stuck at work. Damn it. We love our nurses. Sorry. Bunny trails. You wanted a bunny trail.
For those of you who can't see, which is everybody, I am just staring at Midget. Just waiting.
What?
Just waiting.
What? You cannot deny that we love most of the nurses.
I love some of the nurses.
I love most of the nurses. There are a select few that I won't mention their names that I can't stand, but...
We're not mentioning any names. We're not mentioning any names.
For those of them that follow us, we love them.
Yes.
Especially them.
Yes. Thank y'all so much for listening.
Bunny trails.
But no, like what I had originally wanted to talk about on this Trail of Bunnies episode was stuff that we do or we used to do
during the summer.
During the summer.
I'm cackling like a schoolgirl right now, and I have no idea why.
So, like, I remember growing up as a kid, going up to go see my grandparents in New England every summer, like clockwork. It always happened around my birthday, and we'd go up there, and, well, we would camp. We'd go camping, and then we'd go up there. And then when we got back, we would have a family reunion, and then we'd go camping again. And we spent most of the weekends camping at either a river lot by the Susquehanna River, or once my parents discovered it, Knoebels amusement park. We would go on hikes when I was younger. Like we went up this one place. It's called Hawk Mountain. I don't know if that's the actual name for it, but it's nicknamed that because there's a lot of hawks that go around that mountain that make a roost there.
That's their nesting area.
Yeah. You know, or like we would do a lot of outdoorsy stuff. Now, I am not outdoorsy. I don't like hiking.
I love outdoors.
I don't like fishing. Unless it's deep sea fishing.
I love fishing.
I am not I will camp, but I'm not a big fan of it.
I gotta take you to Rocky Mountain National Park. You'll change your mind.
You know, but like I am not an outdoorsy person. And you know, my parents we would be doing all this stuff, and then I got to an age where I was just like, my parents are like, so what are your plans this weekend? I'm like, I don't know why. And we're going camping. Have fun. I'll be at the house. And I would take a futon or I would take a mattress or whatnot, move it upstairs because my room was in the basement. I'd move something upstairs to the living room where we had the big screen TV, and I'd bring my Xbox up there, and I'd spend the entire weekend camping out in the front room playing Halo 3.
Yeah.
And being, doing online, stuff like that, play multiplayer stuff, And then I would know when my parents were coming home, and it's like, okay, I'd have to move everything back. There was one year where we had the TV had gotten moved down to the basement area to a family room down there. And we were having a leak with the outside spigot into the house, and there was black mold that grew behind the drywall. And so my landlord, he was like, well, you guys need to do something about that. And we're like, this is kind of your job. Here's what we'll compromise. And my parents went camping that weekend with my siblings, and I stayed home with my handy dandy drywall knife or X-Acto knife, and I cut an 8-foot section out of the wall, and I pulled the drywall off, and there was a shitload of black mold, and I'm just like, huh, that sucks. Put all of that drywall into a 55-gallon trash bag, or several of them. Pulled them out, put them out with the garbage. Took a little bit of time. Took some bleach.
You should have
diluted
Kills.
it. Huh?
Kills. It's you can get a spray. There's also paint.
Yeah. I knew that bleach killed mold, so I took some of the Clorox bleach that we had down in the laundry room, diluted it with some water, and sprayed that entire section that I took out. That took me like 3 hours, and I spent the rest of the time playing on my game. You know.
Did you put the drywall back up?
No, that's what the landlord's job was for. He came by.
He sounds just as useless as our old landlord.
He came by 4 days later. He finally showed up and put the drywall up and did all that. And I watched him do it just because I like learning new things. And now I know how to do drywall.
Yep.
Kind of.
I know how to do drywall. I know how to do everything but electrical in a house.
I know how to patch drywall.
I know how to do everything but put electrical and plumbing in a house.
Yeah, well.
As long as somebody can do the electrical and plumbing, I can build the rest of our fucking house.
Anyways. But like,
including
I used
the
to
floors.
do that stuff when I was younger, right? When I was a kid. And, when I was like a little younger, that was fun.
Yeah.
Loved doing that. And then as I got older, I was like, I don't enjoy being outside all that much. I'd rather be inside where
You're
it's nice and
not a
cool.
bug person.
I'm not, and I'm not a heat person. Like even
Yeah.
when I was younger and considerably skinnier, I did not like being out in the heat. It made me miserable. Like the only time I was okay with being out in the heat is if I was near some body of water that I could jump into, and I would spend not like 80% of my time in that body of water. I would barely be on the like when we would go up to see my grandparents. Atlantic Ocean, 60 degrees at that point in time during the year.
Yep.
Cold as balls.
Felt great.
Oh, it felt fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Once you got used to it and everything went numb from your waist down.
Yeah.
But like my Nona would be like, "Hey, why don't you build a sandcastle?" I'm like, "No." But why? It's hot. Duh.
Yeah.
But I preferred being inside reading a book, working on something inside, playing a game, doing stuff like that. And I'd have to be forced outside.
Yeah.
Like my parents would look at us like during the summer when we were at home and living out in one of the houses that we used to live at. My parents would look at us as like, "All right, you guys are on summer vacation." Yeah. Cool. Here's what's going to happen. You wake up, you eat breakfast, you get dressed. You do this chore, this chore, this chore, and this chore.
And then go
and
away.
And then you don't come back in until it's time for lunch or you need something to drink or you need to go to the bathroom. Once you're done doing whatever that is, you're right back outside.
Yeah.
And, we had the neighborhood that I was in. There were some kids around our age, and they pretty much got told the same thing. And my house, the house that I lived in, was like the group hangout, like the neighborhood hangout spot.
Yeah.
The unfortunate part is everybody would want to hang out with my brother or my sister. And I was just kind of left to my own devices unless I got like, "Hey, we need an extra to make this basketball game, even, or we need somebody for this because we're gonna play football on the street or something, And I just okay. And while they were doing their own thing and my sister was hanging out with the girls that were a part of it, I was left alone.
I think that's why you and Matthias butt heads so much, because you guys are so much alike when it comes to that age.
Possibly.
Like, and that it's the funny thing is because you guys get along better, but you butt heads. It's a strange dynamic, but he loves you.
Yeah, I know. But so what I would do is I'd bring out books and I would be reading, and my brother would pick on me. What are you reading for? You're outside. You should play. I don't want to do anything. I just want to read. Leave me alone. I'm sitting in the shade. I have a bottle of water. I'm not bothering anybody. Let me do my thing.
Yeah.
And then inevitably my parents would find out, and they'd come outside and they're like, "Hey, you need to get up and go and be active." I'm like, "I am active. I walked up the stairs and came outside." What more active? Well, you need to be playing. I don't feel like it. Why? And I just turn and look, and my brother would be playing basketball with the guys, or playing doing something with the guys. Carolyn and the girls would be sitting on the grass somewhere, oogling the guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what else do I have here?
Yeah.
Well, you should do something to get involved. No. Well, we're taking your book. You need to do something. Okay. So I give them my book. I find a nice shady spot.
Take a nap.
And take a nap.
No, see, with me, when I was younger, I was probably 3 or 4, and my dad took me camping and fishing. And whereas I was happy as a clam, I got to spend time with my dad. I was going fishing, and then my uncle and my cousins would show up, and then I wasn't having such a good time anymore because of stuff. And then when my brothers were a little older, my dad started leaving me and my mom behind. My mom always got left behind with my younger brother Jeremy because he had just had surgery. He had craniosynostosis, where his bones fused in his head when he was right after he was born. So they had to go in and remove a strip of bone. So he couldn't do any of this stuff without endangering him. So he was at home with my mom with a helmet on. And then when Patrick was born, it's like, then we didn't do a whole lot. I got to play in the sprinkler outside or swim in my little kiddie pool. And then when they were old enough, my dad started taking them camping and leaving me home with my mom. And I remember several times where my mom was like, you know what? Fine. And we made the trip out to New York and North Carolina and went to Carowinds, which is an amusement park out there.
Okay.
And we spent time with family out there because it was always me and my mom. And then as we all got older and my parents, my mom was was in the military still, my dad was out, it was up to me to take care of my brothers. And so no matter where I went, I had to take them. So none of my friends wanted to hang out with me when I did have friends. And then when we moved back to Colorado, when the boys were a little bit older, because we had lived in Washington at that point, we moved back to Colorado, and we met up with my friend Yolanda again. We lived in the same apartment complex again, and we would all be hanging out, and we would swim in the pool at the apartment. And then when the apartment closed and we all moved our separate ways, we didn't really hang out a whole lot, except for when I got invited to sleepovers at Yolanda's, and I still had to take my brothers. I didn't have any time to myself with my friends.
Yeah.
And then when I got to high school, my brothers weren't interested in hanging out anymore, but I still had to stay home. And then when I got a job, it was, well, what are your hours? And then if he had a conflicting schedule, like my dad, even though he didn't have a job, if he had something to do, like an auction or whatever that day, I couldn't go to work because I had to stay home and keep an eye on my brothers, make sure they didn't get into trouble. And it's just like, and so like
Yeah.
I was really restricted, and then, but the last time we ever did anything as a family like that was when we went up to Rocky Mountain National Park. It's one of my best memories with my mom and my dad and my brothers and all of us still together. We went up to Rocky Mountain National Park and we went camping for a week. And my dad tried to teach the boys how to fish and they couldn't do it. And so me and my dad were just sitting on the edge of the lake, feet in the water, just casting out and just having a grand old time. We caught a magic shit ton of fish that day.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, rainbow trout galore.
Oh, yeah.
And I caught a catfish, and he still, like, to this day, if you speak to him, he doesn't have an idea how, because supposedly there were no catfish in that lake. So, I caught a 6-pound catfish.
Nice.
Big ass catfish. Loved it. And that was my fish. Son of a bitch, that was my fish.
Yeah.
He's like, if you're claiming that fish for yourself, you got to eat it all, and that means you got to debone it and you got to cook it yourself. I was like, okay. I was like 13.
Yeah.
I ate a 6-pound catfish. That's why catfish and salmon are my favorite.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do have some good memories, like being in that area when I was growing up. You know, playing hide and go seek at night,
Yeah.
capture the flag at night, manhunt. I was never. I swear to you. You know, you see my complexion,
Yeah.
right?
You're so white you're almost clear.
No, I'm not Bubba White, right? But
You don't get lost in a snowstorm. He does.
yes, I'm dark enough. I do have the enough Italian in me that when I do get sun, I hold on to it,
Yeah. You turn red as a lobster.
and then I tan.
Son of a bitch. I did it anyway. Lobster.
Lobster.
Shut up.
Anyways, but no, like we would do, you know, but I was never allowed to be the guy being hunted in Manhunt.
Because you were too good.
I'll put it like this. I would change into darker clothes, not like black, because here's fun fact. You never want to wear black when you're playing at night, because your shirt color will be darker than the area around you.
Yeah, you wear blues and greens.
Blues and grays.
Oh no, I wore blues and greens, and that's why I wasn't allowed to be the person being hunted either, because yeah, you finish your story and then I'll have to do mine.
I would put on blues and grays because that was the color pattern around the area that I lived in.
Okay.
We had you got to remember where I grew up at, we had a lot of deciduous trees.
You
right?
had like ash.
Yeah, ash, birch,
We have
like
Colorado
that kind
crap.
of stuff, right?
Yeah.
We had a couple of pine trees, you know, Douglas firs, whatever, but they weren't prevalent.
Yeah.
And in the area that I grew up, that we did this in, we had like one, maybe two, big old like evergreen trees, right?
Yeah.
And that'd be the first place everybody would look. So I would never wear the dark greens. I would wear the dark blues and the grays.
Mm-hmm.
And the first and only time that I was ever allowed to go ahead and be the manhunt or the man to be hunted, I found a small, like when I say small, I mean like there was barely a dent in the ground, ditch, right? And I laid down, and people kept walking past me, and I would wait till they get certain foot away from me, and I would do my evil laugh, which you've heard me do my evil laugh before. But where we were at, it would echo. So
they couldn't tell which direction.
Right, and it would freak them out, right?
Yeah.
And it got to a point where they kept looking, they were looking for hours. I fell asleep.
Yeah.
And they're like, they finally were like, hey, all right, we're calling it. We can't find you. Come out wherever you're at. Obviously, I didn't hear them because I was asleep.
No.
But I was snoring. And that was the only way they found me, because I was snoring. They're like, huh. I was 10 feet away from where their base was at. 10 feet. And they're like, you're not allowed to do that anymore. I'm like, then I'm not playing anymore.
So,
but you would always listen for the dad whistle. No matter what game you were playing, no matter where you were at in the neighborhood, you heard that whistle. All right, I got to go. Well, how do you know? Dad just whistled. Oh.
So the only time we were allowed to play Manhunt was when we had our family reunions or family get-togethers or whatever. Because we lived in some not so good areas of the metro area, regardless if it was here or in Washington.
Would it be considered the projects?
Yes.
Okay.
It'd be considered more of the white people side of the projects, not the melting pot projects, not the gang-related projects. Just some really shitty people.
Not like the typical projects that you see, but
we're talking the pedo projects.
Yeah.
Like we lived in a neighborhood that had a few homes that were meant for offenders to live there.
Right.
That was far enough away from schools and stuff. So we weren't allowed to play unless we were like at reunions or at family get-togethers. And one of those times was at Rocky Mountain National Park. Like I said, one of my fondest weeks.
Right.
So it was my family, my Uncle Ray's family, my Uncle Floyd's family, my Uncle Les's family, which he didn't have any kids, but that came around. But all the aunts and uncles, everybody, we all went up to Rocky Mountain National Park. There was like 60 of us.
Okay.
There was about 25 kids in total. Some kids by marriage, stepkids, whatever. But that's the only time we were allowed to play. Well, we would play until each of us had a turn as the person being hunted. Well, I was like, I'll go last. Because I was one of the older ones, and I wanted the little kids to have a chance to play.
Right.
Just in case it got too late and the parents called it. That way they could all have a chance. I was nice like that.
Was.
Oh, I was nice like that. And
Was.
here's my motive behind it. Every time one of the little kids was going, the first thing I'd do is I would be plotting out the first round. I'd plot out a spot where I wanted to hide when I was the one being hunted.
Okay.
Each subsequent turn, I was going to that same spot and, unbeknownst to everybody, digging out underneath this giant fallen tree.
Okay.
Digging out a nice little spot. Kept going. The parents are all laughing and having a good time. We paused about halfway through to go get dinner because they were like, hey, it's time for dinner, yada, yada. It was dusk. So because we didn't want the little kids too dark, right? So it was dusk. It was starting to get dark, and the kids were having fun. We're all having a blast. They're like, okay, you can go back to playing. And we're like, okay, it's almost dark. They're like, okay. So they put a rope around. They all connected ropes.
They marked off an area.
Where we could not go outside that rope. And if we got caught outside that rope, we would seriously get our asses beat.
Yeah,
like, they brought switches from home.
Right.
So, got all the way down to the second to the last turn, and I was like, I really hope they don't call it, because I was finished. My plan was perfect. I ended up setting sort of a lean tube situation with branches and sticks and whatnot to cover up my area. So, gets to me, and the rule was they all had to stay at camp for 5 minutes to give us a chance to hide.
Right.
So I got in my spot. Everybody started looking. They were walking across that log, everything else. I ended up falling asleep. Unbeknownst to me, park rangers and the police were called because it was 5 a.m. and nobody could still find me.
Huh?
I woke up at like 7:30 in the morning, crawled out from underneath the tube, started helping this one guy search. I was like, what are you guys searching for? They're like, we're searching for this little girl named Naomi. I was like, my name is Naomi. And he's like, what? So everybody was asking where I had hidden because everybody was freaked out. I was gone all night. I was like, I'm hungry. That's why I was trying to help you guys do what you could because I saw everybody else helping. Nobody was paying attention to this guy. This guy was walking by himself, just searching around, using his little stick to his little hiking stick, walking stick. You know the red and white ones.
Yeah.
To kind of move things around. He goes, "Where were you hiding?" I was like, "I'll show you, but I'm going to stay there, and then you're going to go get everybody you can and say you found me." And then you're going to bring them, and you're going to all gather around, and they're going to ask you where I'm at. And he goes, "Okay, I got you." Coolest park ranger ever. Park ranger bits.
Okay.
He retired years ago, obviously, but he he goes and gets everybody, and everybody's gathered around. They're like, "We thought you said you found her. Is she okay?" He goes, "Oh, she's fine." And he goes, "Naomi, you want to come out?" And I saw it crawl out, and they're like, "We were sitting on this log for 3 hours trying to figure out where you were." My parents were sitting there. My uncle was sitting there. Everybody was laughing because they're like, "You were there?" I was like, "Yeah, I fell asleep. You guys were taking too long. I was tired." I was like, "That was nice and comfortable." And so I wasn't allowed to be the one hunted. I had to regulate the game. Like, I had to make sure I knew where the person hid so that way, if something like that happened again, I wasn't allowed to play anymore. I had to be the adult regulator in it, basically.
You had to be the moderator.
Yeah, I had to monitor everything, and that was my job. I got my first wine cooler on one of those trips, just to be an adult. I was like 15.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would sit there, and I would know where everybody hid, went back to camp, and told them, "Okay, they're hidden. Go ahead and go." And I'd sit there and be BSing with the adults, cast a couple lines out. "Oh, we found you. Okay, everybody come back to camp. Who's next?" And then I'd go out with that, rinse and repeat. So, yeah, I was the subject of a 6-hour manhunt. Quite literally. And, I wasn't allowed to play that anymore. That's why I chose not to teach my children that game. Because I knew that karma is a bitch.
Yeah.
What goes around comes around. And your kids are 10 times worse to you than you were to your parents. So, yeah, I didn't want that to happen. So they weren't allowed to play manhunt.
I would have loved it if we had an area, when the kids were younger, that we could play manhunt. Because I would have taught them the way that I would play.
Mm-hmm. I was evil, though.
I would be evil. I'm not diet evil. I'm not evil zero.
You're evil light.
I'm not evil. I'm not evil light. When it's time
You're
to play
evil
a game,
heavy. Sorry, fat joke.
Oh yeah. when it's like a game like that, it's all kid gloves are off. I do not care. If I don't want you to find me, you will not find me.
I'd like to take them now that they're older. Like, even Bubba, like being 20, almost 21. God, holy shit.
Anyways.
I'd like to take them up to Rocky Mountain National Park, because we never really got to, because the ex was never really into that when we were together, but God knows he is now.
I mean, I'm not real into it either, but here's the thing.
They'll try anything once.
Yeah. And I've been camping, so, like, I know the basics of, like, getting up to your spot, making sure that everything's set up, getting there while it's still light out, so you're not trying to put
getting up there in the
morning
together in the dark.
Because that shit sucks.
But I'd like to take you, even if it's just the two of us, up to Rocky Mountain National Park, go camping for a weekend and just chill.
Now, are we talking camping or are we talking glamping?
Camping. I don't glamp.
The
closest to glamping we'll get is we will get an air mattress that will go inside the tent, because I will not sleep on the ground. It hurts.
So that way, when I go to lay down on the mattress, you get launched through the roof?
No, I'll let you lay down first.
No, if we're going to go camping like that, I either want to see about renting out one of those...
The cabins?
They're cabins, but there's a name for them. It starts with a Y.
Yurt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do a yurt kind of thing.
They have them.
Or figure out some way of, like, renting an RV, something to that extent. Like, I'll do that camping because, one, I'm fat. I'm big. Right?
For now.
And for 2, you're old.
Yeah. I can still fish with the best of them, though.
You can fish. That's fine. Fishing is sitting. It's the getting up and down from the ground.
You know what?
Sucks.
I climbed my first 14er at 35 years old.
Okay.
That was a big accomplishment.
Hear my bells. Ding, 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 ding. Congratulations. You didn't have a choice.
No, I did. I could have chosen not to go up to the summit, but I chose to push myself.
No, you didn't have a choice to not go, period.
Yeah, I did. I could have just not gone.
Anyways.
But I wanted to. Best advice, though, when you're climbing a 14er and you're drinking all that water, everything great, go and pee out in the woods, great. I can pee in the woods, too. I don't care. I'll pee on the side of a highway.
Anyways.
Just do yourself a favor and don't smoke a cigar and drink a beer on top of the mountain.
That's the best place to do it.
No.
Yeah.
Because then if you are not used to beer and cigars, you will puke your guts out. And then you can go down to base camp.
Anyways.
Anyway.
But like,
I would really like to take you up there because it is beautiful.
I would love to take you to the East Coast.
By Colorado.
And
you're talking vacation, not permanent.
Yeah.
Damn it.
And like, I want to take you to Rye, New Hampshire.
I would love to go. I've never been to New Hampshire.
Especially during the summer. Because here's the reason. Rye,
I've been to New York, North Carolina, and South Carolina.
Rye is close enough to Portsmouth where you are out, you have a great view, you know, you have all this cool stuff, but you can drive into Portsmouth. You're
close enough to civilization.
There's a place in Portsmouth called Prescott Park. And I had to force myself to say it that way. Because if I said it the way I normally would say it. Prescott Park. Okay. Every summer, I don't know if it's, I hope they're still doing it, but when I was growing up, every summer what they would do is they would have live shows at night in the park. Like
movies,
no
concerts,
no
plays,
Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, musicals, yes.
I
Can
would
we
go up
next
there,
summer?
and I saw Fiddler on the Roof. I saw a rendition of Fiddler on the Roof. I saw a rendition of Little Shop of Horrors.
It's one of my favorites, by the way.
I think there was. I'm trying to remember all
see
the
Rent or Les Mis or Phantom or anything like that.
Anything like that big.
Yeah.
Smaller scale.
Smaller scale. God. Someone West.
They did West Side Story.
Yes, West Side Story.
They did Singing in the Rain.
Singing in the Rain's another favorite.
You know, but they did these live performances with the Little Shop of Horrors. They had Audrey too, and they included the audience in it.
Yeah.
Because they had kids come up. They're like, you know, hey, I want you to come up and say hi to my friend Audrey. And you go up there, and you know, the depending on how big and you know how big you were, the plant would just like lean down, and whoever was controlling it lean down and sniff you, and just nope, this one's not ripe enough. But if they were like a certain size,
yeah,
the plant
small
would
enough,
eat them.
Yeah, that would be.
It was
fun.
It was the coolest thing. But then they would have like intermission, and like everybody would scatter, you know, still be in the area. Like all the adults would still be in that area. But they would allow the kids to like run around and play in the park and all that kind of stuff. And it was so much fun.
We have something like that here, and it's usually around Sloan's Lake, and they put on the show on the island in the center. I don't know if they still do it, but you have these little pontoon boats.
Yeah.
That you sit in. Oh, actually, not even that. The pedal boats that you sit in. It's like $10 a boat.
Yeah.
And you'd paddle out to the island, and you'd gather around the island, and they'd do several shows because it got so big that they had to.
Yeah.
It got to be such a demand, and me and my mom did that one time when the boys went camping. We went out and we saw Fiddler on the Roof. And we saw them doing Fiddler on the Roof in the little island in the center. I don't know if that island is still stable enough to do that, though.
But, like, you wake up, like, and going back to just being up and Rye, you know, you go to bed, and, like, at first it's annoying as fuck, and I will fully admit this. But, like, where I would be at with my grandparents, they would rent a cabin along Route 1. For those that don't know, Route 1 is the highway that runs up the coast of the eastern coast of the United States. Like, literally right across the street from, right across Route 1 is the ocean, right?
That would be awesome. We should do that. See if we can find the cabins that
where
they
would
used to
have
rent.
a cabin at, and I can still remember it's the Mira properties. There was like a pond, bayou, something on one side, and the ocean in the front. So, like, you walk into the cabin. If you're looking at the ocean from the front room, to your right, out the window, and on that side was the swampy area, right?
Okay.
So at night you go to bed to the chorus of frogs croaking.
I would love that.
And there's a couple bullfrogs in there, and they got loud. But
that means they were close.
But you'd still, like, in the background, you'd hear the whoosh of the tide coming up and hitting, and you'd have the smell of the ocean coming off, and it is my happy place. That's why, like, when I was driving around, when I would start feeling myself get, irritable or whatnot, I would find, like, a lake. Like, I'd go up to Cherry Creek State Park, and I'd park there. Or I'd go down off of Wadsworth and Bowles to that lake that's right there. And
yeah, it's Chatfield.
Yeah, I'd park close enough to it that I could hear the water. And I would relax because it would bring me back to that. In the morning I would get up and eat breakfast, go across the street, hang out on the rocks, because it was like a rocky coastline. And I'd hang out on the rocks, and I'd just watch the tide come in and out, watch the boat, the big tankers way out in the ocean, just go by, cross the street again, go back inside, get ready. We'd go down to the beach, which is like a 10, 15-minute walk down the street. We'd leave early enough. We'd bring food, and we'd be at the beach all day, walk back, and then when the sun was setting, I would go right back across the street, and I'd just hang out on the rocks, and I would get eaten alive because of mosquitoes, and they apparently they really like my blood.
Yeah, it's the sugar.
But, I'd make sure that I had some off, and I spray off on me before I went over there so they'd leave me alone. And I just hang out over there for hours. It's actually where being over there is the reason why my mom had to get two copies of Queen's Greatest Hits on cassette, because I stole the one that she had and wore it out.
Yeah.
So she had to replace her copy, and then she got me a copy.
I am so glad I didn't put that CD in your car.
We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that.
Queen's Greatest Hits is in my car.
I think it's actually over here.
Okay.
Inside.
Anyways.
But no, like that was one of my favorite memories, and eventually I want to take you out there.
Random thought. What if we do our wedding out there?
See, here's the problem. We have people here that we want to invite that do not have the fundage.
Okay.
To go out there.
We live stream it.
No, I'm not doing that.
If they really want to be there.
Honeymoon?
Okay.
We can make that one of the stops.
But
if we do a honeymoon.
We can't just have it out here, because what about the family that can't travel?
What family can't travel?
Foster.
He can travel.
His health's not.
He can still travel.
Actually, if we plan it right, after my mom retires, they're going to take a road trip.
Anyways,
but taking a weekend out there before we leave for our honeymoon and fly out from there, because We're not staying in the country for our honeymoon. I'm sorry. I love you. We're not staying in the country.
Okay.
We're going to Italy and Ireland.
Okay.
We'll spend a week at each.
Okay.
And maybe come back. Depending on how much we like it.
And how old the children are.
Yeah.
But no, like, at least at some point, I want to go out there for vacation. I want to go out there. I actually want to travel and not have a staycation.
Why don't we plan that for next summer?
We can see.
Just you and I.
We can see.
Yeah.
But, like, that was a big thing, growing up is like you always plan, you always want to have, like, hey, what are you doing this summer?
Remember going back to school. What did you do over the summer?
Well, I visited my grandparents and I went camping. And then as I got older, I worked. Because I was working at 15.
Yeah, I was working at 15.
I went ahead and I got a work permit from school, made sure my grades were up, and I was working at McDonald's at 15 years old.
I was working at Kmart at 15 years old as a cashier.
So like that's what I did.
Yeah.
And the times that I wasn't, I was at home.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when you're growing up, you have, when we were growing up, we had so many different options that we can do. Like, I remember growing up, like you said, we get kicked out at sunrise, and we weren't allowed to come. We got handed a bag lunch and a water bottle that we could fill with the hose, and that was about it.
Well,
Let the hose run. Let the hose run for a minute or two, and where it gets a little cooler before you drink hot water. Anyway,
that was you guys.
That's that's a PSA for you.
For us, like for me and my siblings, we could go inside to get a cup of water or to fill up our water bottles.
We could go inside to get water and bathroom and stuff.
Get like lunch or whatnot.
Oh no, we weren't allowed in the kitchen. We were allowed in the bathroom, and we were allowed it at the what we called the mud room, basically the half bath that only had a sink and a toilet in it. And it was one of those big tub sinks, those farm sinks.
Yeah, it's for when you get muddy, you can rinse off before you go inside.
And we were able to fill our water bottles or whatever through there, but we weren't allowed to come further into the house because that was cleaning day for my mom.
It was during the summer. I was making sandwiches, and that was the first and only time I've ever slapped my brother in the face with a piece of cheese.
And we do it to our.
We do not.
I do it to Matthias all the time.
But
hey, here's a piece of cheese.
My parents always made sure that we had lunch meat and cheese
and
bread. So we would do lunch meat sandwiches for lunch. You know, we didn't use the microwave. We didn't use the stove. The only time that we used the stove or whatnot is like if it was chilly and we were doing like ramen or we were doing like SpaghettiOs, stuff like that. And half the time, if it was SpaghettiOs, I just
straight out the can.
I just cracked the can and ate it like that. And they're like, everybody was like, "Oh, you're eating that cold?"
Yep. It's too fucking hot outside. I mean,
it tastes fine. It's already cooked. It's just canned.
One of the biggest things
you don't need to warm it up.
One of the biggest things that my dad did, and one of the best things that he ever did for us, is we had this huge. I'm talking military size cooler.
Okay.
It was basically the size of one of those tool chests for a truck bed. And he would fill it halfway with ice, and he'd put snacks and food and water bottles and a couple of sodas and like Sprite or whatever in there. And we would be munching on that stuff all day. Like he always put grapes in there, like big old bags of grapes.
Which, by the way, did you know that you can just shake it?
Yeah.
And you can pop all the grapes off?
Yeah, did you know you could also dump the entire bag into a couple of paper towels and just barely roll it, and it'll do the same thing? Yeah.
It's more fun to shake it.
Yeah. But anyway, so we would have this entire cooler full for the day. And if we wanted anything to eat or drink or whatever, we could go and grab something, run inside real quick to go to the bathroom, come back out. And that was back when you could leave your sprinkler on for the kids to play in. But as our kids were born, you couldn't do that because everybody would call the cops.
We had the cops called on us once, talking about us.
Yep.
Because the kids were outside, they're out back playing.
While I was doing dishes.
Grandma was out back on the patio, but kind of hidden away because it was hot.
Yeah.
And they were out and just playing in the backyard. And the neighbors next door, the ones that you guys always had a problem with, called. And they're like, oh, there's children running around out back unsupervised.
Yeah.
And the police show up, and they walk out back, and they're like, where's your, who's watching you? And then Grandma looked over and said, hi.
Yeah.
Oh, you're out here? Have you been out here? Yeah, I'm out here. And I've been out here the entire time.
Yep. It got to the point, and actually before you came here, it got to the point where several times in one summer, they would be calling the cops. It got so bad that the cops actually flagged their number, where if they called and made a report of us being alone, they never even came out. No. Because they knew it wasn't true.
See, growing up, we didn't have that problem.
Nope.
Like, everybody there was like a couple people in the neighborhood that I was talking about that, we really didn't talk to. Or we didn't like. My parents didn't, that is.
They probably had a vibe off of them.
There was the two people down at the end of the block, or at the end of the cul-de-sac. One was an old lady who was just a grumpy bitch. And one was...
Get off my lawn!
Well, not even like that. Like, you couldn't even... Like, if you got near... Like, we would ride our bikes up and down the cul-de-sac, and we were on a hill. So, like, you hit the hill riding your bike going down that cul-de-sac. You were, like,
Is this
gone.
the same place you got hit by the car?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was the cul-de-sac that we lived in. I got hit the next street over. But she, like, if you were doing that, she'd get real upset because, well, your braking's throwing gravel into my grass. It's gravel. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I hated neighbors like that.
And then the next door neighbor to that was a younger guy who, somehow had some money because he always had like this big old lifted truck, and he'd tear up his lawn and throw dirt and rocks all over the place. And where we lived at, like the majority, like you'd have that top layer of soil, and then underneath that was clay, red clay.
Same as here.
Hence the reason why my high school was named the way that it was, because of the red clay. Yeah. But he would like
Colorado
fly
clay's a bitch.
up and down the cul-de-sac, and there was at one point we were in the middle of playing a game of 33, and my dad was out there. He was watching, and because he had just gotten this is like the third game that we were playing, so Dad needed to take a break, and he comes trying to fly up the road, and I, yelled out car, and everybody got out of the road, and he goes flying by, and he's in one of those like XCs, like those Scions. Yeah. That looked like a fucking toaster on wheels.
Yep.
And he yelled at us, "You need to get out of the road." I'm like, "You need to not be driving a toaster." And he slammed on his brakes and threw it in the park and came stomping over and got in my face. What was that? You really want to go? This is my car. What car do you got? I'm like, I'm 16, bro. What do you mean what car I got? I got a bicycle. I'm not old enough to have a license, you dipshit.
That's right before they changed it to 16 in 6 months.
Well, this was like, that was still a thing, but I wasn't working.
Yeah.
Like, I was doing like small jobs every now and then. I was like mowing the neighbor's lawn or fixing his fence for him, or house sitting when him and his wife weren't going to be there.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And he's like, he like balled up, he squared up, and I'm just like, here's the problem. You hit me, you go to jail because you just assaulted a minor.
Yeah.
I hit you and you get knocked out. You just got knocked out by a minor. You really want to do this? And that's when my dad came over, and he's like, "You need to stop." He said that to me, and he looked at the guy, and he's like, "And if you ever say anything to my children ever again, you won't have to worry about him doing anything, because I'm going to shove your head and your ass up your own tailpipe." And my dad...
He's
at that point in time, he was working out a lot.
Yeah.
He had grown his hair out.
Oh, is
He
that the
looked
biker?
He looked like a skinnier version of Triple H. Okay.
Yeah.
And what I mean by skinnier, like my dad is skinny, right? Like
Yeah.
he bulks up real nice, but he doesn't get swollen like Triple H does, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah, it does. You know, so he was like Triple H, just downsized.
Yeah.
Just slightly.
Wish.com, Wish.com version of Triple H.
No, like I mean, if you were like Amazon Triple H, right?
Okay.
But he's like just staring down this man, and my dad tries to. There are times it feels like he tries to, like, emulate my grandfather, like his dad, and be very stoic and only say something when he needs to.
Yeah.
My dad is emotional. He's fun. He will, when he's happy, he'll show you that he's happy. When he's upset, he'll show you that he's upset. He doesn't have this natural resting bitch face that my granddad did, and just stoicism, right?
Yeah.
So when my dad marched up to him and did this, dude went ahead and I was like, "Oh yeah, what are you going to do?" And he's like, "You really want to throw? Let's throw down. Let's go." And I'm standing right behind my dad on one side. My brother is standing on the other side
Which
of my
one,
dad.
Chris or Kyle?
Kyle. Standing on the other side of my dad. And Kyle, at that point, he was built like a brick shit house.
Yeah.
Like he was playing football, so he was working out. You know, I was doing my own thing, but I had muscle. You know, I wasn't like a skinny
Was
little
this
pencil
after
neck.
your football days? Or?
This is after, like, I played football, like I played Pop Warner football.
Yeah.
You know, but like, so I wasn't working out as
religiously.
much,
Yeah.
but like I was still in JROTC.
Yeah.
So like we still had to do PT, so I was still doing workouts and stuff.
Yeah.
And we're just standing there, and he's like, "Fuck you guys," and gets in his little toaster box and drives off. And my dad turned to look at me. He goes, "Don't you ever do that again." I'm like, "What?" I'm not gonna let somebody sit there and yell at me because I'm having fun. We're kids. This is a street. Like, I made sure to get everybody out of the road like I'm supposed to. So that way nobody has to worry about getting hit. He wants to go ahead and run his mouth. Cool. Let him run his mouth. Fuck around and find out. My dad goes, language. I'm like, English. And
Yeah.
And he just, my mom heard that. She's like snickering from the porch. And my dad's like, "You are so lucky that was funny," and walked away.
Yeah.
You know, but like, I remember going ahead and playing in the street and riding your bikes up and down the road. And
now you can't because they don't care. They'll hear you say car, and then they'll speed up and swerve towards you because they're a bunch of fucking dicks.
It's
things have changed, and not
A
for
lot.
the good.
you know,
Most
but
things have changed for the good, but there are a few bad apples
There-
that spoil the
there
bunch,
are.
unfortunately.
like a lot of things have gone better and gotten better and all that, you know. But there's still some people who are out there that are like, "Fuck you," and "fuck your fun," and "fuck this," and "fuck." It's like, all right, bro, cool. You be pissed.
You
Don't know what
boo-boo.
you're pissed off about. Maybe you weren't able to get all your poop out in the morning. Maybe you're just that constipated. You
Go
got
eat some
something
fiber, buddy.
shoved up your ass. I don't fucking know.
Go eat some Viber.
Whatever it is, chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, we're all on this earth together. Why do you got to make things difficult?
And that's the thing is, like, I don't know where the disconnect happened where we had the latchkey kids in Gen X and the older Zennials, older millennials, like I am, of course,
Like me.
not like me and you, the elder millennials, but I don't know where it went from the things we were able to do when we were kids. I mean, hell, we'd walk into a corner store with $1 and have a Coke, a bunch of candy, and still have the $1. But like,
Well, I did that. I walk into a corner store and not have any money. I'd walk out and I'd still have no money, but I'd have food. That's just because I was sticky fingered.
but no, like, I mean, and the corner stores knew that the kids did this stuff. Like, they had these penny candies and stuff like that for a reason.
They'd sit there and watch me come in.
Yeah.
And keep an eye on me throughout the entire time, and I'd still manage to do it. And they're like, Like I walked out and they're just staring at me, and I just pull out a candy bar from my pocket and just hi, and they're like, "How? I'm not gonna get you in trouble. How?" I'm like, I'll tell you when I'm older."
But no, and that's the thing is like I don't know where the disconnect happened, where we were the latchkey kids, we were the ones that were able to go out in the summer and disappear for 8 hours, and as soon as we saw the streetlights or heard the dad whistle, we were right back at the house. Like, I don't know where the disconnect happened, where we used to be able to do that, and now you let your kid go outside for 5 minutes without you, and somebody's calling the cops.
No. I think a lot of it happened when everything, like, back then, there was still bad stuff going on, but, like...
There were still kidnappings, molesters.
There was still bad stuff going on.
We got warned about Chester Molester, remember that?
But, like, we didn't... It wasn't, like, a focal point. And nowadays,
it wasn't
feels...
what everybody focused on.
That's the thing. That's what it feels like nowadays, is we're all focused on the negative, what could happen. You know, what's a possibility of this? We want to protect our children and all that. The issue with it is that overprotecting your kids
is worse than letting them experience
Don't be a helicopter parent.
And see, and here's the thing, and bad things like
Let
this
your
happen.
kid scrape his knee. Guess what? The next time
Rub some dirt on it.
Next time he goes into a situation, or he's in that same situation, guess what he's not going to do?
Scrape his knee.
Exactly.
And see, the
Let
thing
them
is,
climb a tree and break their arm. Guess what they're going to figure out? How to climb a tree better.
And that's the thing. It's like, and
granted, I never broke my arm or broke like that.
Neither did I.
From climbing trees,
I scraped my shit up though.
I broke my pinkies playing football. I scraped my knees and my legs up.
I climbed so high into a tree, one of those trips out to Rocky Mountain National Park, that I was damn near the top of a 15, 20-foot tree, and the branch broke, and I literally hit every branch of the ugly tree on the way down.
I mean, my
back was so fucked up.
I've gone off a dirt ramp that me and me and the kids would build up.
Paint cans and a plywood piece.
Dirt and wood and a wooden board.
Yeah.
And we had the general. This is the last thing that we'll talk about, and then we'll start wrapping it up.
I have one more comment after this.
Like, we'd go off the ramp and we'd fly through the air and land, and that was cool. And then one of us
the board go.
One of us had the genius idea, and I think it was me. Pretty sure it was me. Well, because we're going forward and we're pedaling, when we're on the ground, we hold the brake, we stop, right? Yeah. What if we held the brake in midair?
Hey, you hit the ground and go over the handlebars.
Oh, we'd stop in midair. Because gravity wasn't a fucking focal point.
Gravity was not our focus.
So I went off the ramp.
Lawn darts.
Hit the brakes. And next thing I know, it's like 5 minutes later, and I'm waking up, and my bike's all tangled up in my legs, and my head is hurting, and my back is screaming, and my siblings are all like, oh, and my dad's standing over me. It's like, what'd you do?
What we learned.
And what we learned. so...
So, I mean, one more game that we used to play when we were kids, lawn darts.
Never played it.
Giant metal darts you tossed up in the, you threw up in the air. Like, if you were doing, what's that game where you toss the ball backwards and you, they had to catch it?
Jackpot?
Yeah, something like that. It was called something different out here, but anyway, so you threw these lawn darts up in the air, and there was this giant target circle, like different rings.
It's darts, but you play it in the yard.
Yeah, you throw it up in the air. The problem is they were metal.
Yeah.
And the problem was
people weren't paying attention.
No, they were paying attention. We just made it a game and see who you could hit.
Dumbasses.
But after
there's a reason why they're banned.
After Jeremy,
you're the reason why they're banned.
Me and Jeremy and a couple of our friends and Patrick, we were throwing them up, and we'd throw them up and we'd all stand, and then at the last minute you had to try to dodge it, kind of like a game of chicken with lawn darts.
Y'all are. How the fuck are any of y'all still alive?
Well, one of those lawn darts pierced Patrick's butt cheek.
How are any of y'all still alive? You guys, you and your friends and your brothers are the reason why lawn darts are banned. Thank God. With that,
Oh, I have one more thing. That was not the one more thing. So, to end it, and this is the thought that I'm going to leave everybody with. Bad shit happens all around the world. There's child molesters, there's creepies, there's people that will kidnap you, all over the world. The U.S. is the only country in the world where they frown upon letting your children be children. In Finland, Ireland, Italy, everywhere. Did you know in Finland and in Greenland and Iceland that, and even Russia, during the winter, they stick strollers with toddlers in them out there, out in the snowy area for nap time to harden them up, to expose them to the cold so that they don't get sick every time they turn around. That's why our kids get sick all the time, because we're overprotecting them. Anyways, the U.S. is the only country in the world that doesn't practice basically hardening your children up. It's participation trophy era. It's bullshit. Stop being overprotective. Stop being a helicopter parent. Your children are not going to die if they scrape their knee.
What about staph infection?
Yes, the staph infection ain't going to happen if you properly clean it afterwards. Your kids are going to get scraped up, bruised up. Let them rollerblade. Let them roller skate. They're going to go over a piece of gravel and they're going to bite the dust. But guess what? Yeah, helmet, I would recommend. Pads, they're useless. They slide when you hit the ground. Ain't protecting shit. Just let them be kids. Scrape their knees, bump their elbows, smack their head on something because they were running and they didn't see the monkey bar. They thought they were short enough to run underneath it.
Three men run into a bar. The fourth one ducks.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you cannot be so overprotective of your kids that they're afraid to do anything.
No. Well, with that being said,
good place to end it.
That is a good place to end it. Thank y'all so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. If you are listening to us on Spotify and you want to show Spotify that you enjoy hearing what you're listening to, hit that follow
download button
and hit that download button. It really shows them that you like it. They get back to us.
For some reason.
They're like, hey, we got more people that like it. And we're like, dope. And it helps motivate us to make more episodes, longer episodes.
And if you like us, spread the word. If you think to your friends, your family, your neighbor, your coworkers, if you think they'll enjoy it, tell them.
Yeah. If you would like to donate to the show, there is a link down in the description. You don't have to, if you don't want to, and if you can't afford it, don't do it. But any little bit that does come in goes right back into the show. Or to the parrots. Goes back into the show because that's what we're getting the donations for. Jesus, can I do this, please? No. Anyways, with that all being said, thank y'all so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. Follow us on Blue Sky. We're on Blue Sky. Just look up Chaotic Minds, and you'll be able to find us. But it is Pride Month, so I will take this one. Don't forget to love each other. And as always, don't be a dick. Bye, guys. Okay, bye.